Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. I'm Nicholas Richardson and this is the news. Tomorrow at 1 p.m. on the 82nd anniversary of the outbreak of the Second World War, a report on Polish losses resulting from the German invasion and occupation from 1939 to 1945 will be presented at the Royal Castle in Warsaw. The report is divided into 3 volumes. The first concerns demographic and material losses, the second contains photographic documentation, and the third is a register of places of pacification and crime. The aim of the report is to present calculations of the losses suffered by Poland as a result of the German invasion on the 1st of September 1939. The document will be the basis for making claims against Germany. After 1947, no study was prepared to estimate the damage suffered by Poland. The key is the first volume, which contains an estimate of material and demographic losses. This will be such a very brief presentation of the report, showing these key calculations, theses and, of course, amounts. Who heads a group of experts dealing with the preparation of the report, emphasises that the document is translated into several languages, so that the public around the world can learn about the damage suffered by the Polish state. The report takes into account all citizens of the former Second Polish Republic. An invitation to the presentation of the report at the Royal Castle in Warsaw was sent to foreign media and embassies of countries such as Germany, Israel, France and the United States. We hope that the overtones of this report, the information provided there, will generate interest in Europe and around the world, and discussions about Germany's attitude over these past 80 years towards Poland. Solidarity Poland submitted a draft resolution calling on Germany to repeal the so-called Göring's Decree. Under it, on the 27th of February 1940, Polish organizations were liquidated and their property was plundered. The decree is still in force in the Federal Republic of Germany. It cannot be that these inhumane, barbaric laws are still in force today. First, these laws have not been formally repealed. Second, these people have not been compensated. And third, their property has not been returned to them. The Polish-American Congress, commemorating the 82nd anniversary of Germany's attack on Poland, issued a special statement on reparations. The Polish-American Congress supports Poland's efforts to obtain compensation for German war crimes and the destruction of the country during the German occupation of 1939 to 1945. Tomorrow, in front of the Embassy of the Federal Republic of Germany in Warsaw, there will be a demonstration organised by the clubs of Gazeta Polska. The demonstrators will demand war damages from the German state. It is important that as Poles, as a nation, we realise that these reparations are necessary for us. We need them. The fact that we were left behind the Iron Curtain for several decades, that we didn't have a chance to develop like the countries of the free world, we didn't have a chance for the Marshall Plan, has caused our economy to diverge from Western Europe and diverge through no fault of our own. The demonstration will start at 7 p.m. in front of the German embassy on Jazdów 12 in Warsaw. 189 days of war in Ukraine. Russian troops are shelling Enerhada as inspectors from the International Atomic Energy Authority are on their mission to Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Meanwhile, there was a powerful explosion in Crimea this morning. An oil depot caught fire and huge clouds of smoke rose into the sky. Ukrainian intelligence also reported that Russia has begun a secret mobilization in Moscow and St. Petersburg. According to the information provided earlier, the IAEA mission was supposed to reach the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant today, but the Russians announced that they would not expect it until tomorrow morning and would not let the delegates' cars into territory they control.
Finally,
at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, we have a very important task to perform, to assess the real situation on the spot and help stabilize it. This operation is very complex. We're going to the war zone, we are going to the occupied territories, and this requires clear guarantees from Russia and Ukraine.
to perform.
We give them a list of the main very important points there which they should check, and that is from technical point of view. And another is the understanding where the Russian military is on this day. We have information that they are now trying to hide this military presence, and so they should check all of this.
In recent days, the media coverage of the situation in Ukraine has been dominated by the topic of the Ukrainian counteroffensive in the south of the country. In general, foreign journalists and analysts speak about this, but the command of the Ukrainian armed forces calls for restraint. The Ministry of Defence and the armed forces recommend refrain from guesswork and do not comment on the actions of the armed forces. Only the command is authorised to provide information on the course of combat operations. You should not disseminate your own forecasts of the course of the operation. And most importantly, information about the course of the combat operations can only be disseminated by the armed forces of Ukraine. and imaginary successes will not bring us closer to real victory. The information silence on the part of Ukraine is not only understandable but also intentional. Yesterday already showed that publicising this topic does not serve the cause. This is an informative emphasis on the activities of the Ukrainian armed forces. The front is a living organism. The situation changes very quickly. Therefore, we will not talk about tactical successes or failures on a regular basis. It is even forbidden. Ukrainian military intelligence reported that hidden mobilization is already underway in the largest Russian cities, such as Moscow and St. Petersburg. People drafted into the army will join troops in the occupied Crimea. For Russian soldiers who do not want to fight in this war, the Ukrainian armed forces are distributing instructions on how to properly surrender on the front line. First of all, you need to remove the ribbons, the markings that the Russians use. Then hang the rifle with the magazine detached over the left shoulder, necessarily with the barrel down. Holding something white in your left hand, walk towards the Ukrainian soldiers. Once visual and verbal contact has been made, follow all orders and avoid provocation. Captivity in the armed forces of Ukraine is better than war. Ukraine is preparing to start the school year. Over the last few weeks, teachers and parents have been preparing shelters and securing windows in school buildings. Since the beginning of the invasion, the Russians in Mykolaiv have fired shots at 77 educational institutions. 2 schools were completely ruined, and in 2 some buildings were destroyed. In order to preserve schools for children who will return after the war, we tried to secure them as much as possible. Today, in one of the schools in Kramatorsk, in one of the classrooms, teachers and parents lit candles, set flowers and spread out notebooks and signed the names of children who will never sit on their pews again. The cradle of Los Angeles is the Franciscan mission founded 250 years ago. This past weekend, as part of the celebration of the anniversary year, the Archbishop of Los Angeles, Jose Gomez, celebrated Mass at the Cathedral of Our Lady of the Angels with the participation of the Polish community. With the details, our reporter, Małgorzata Schulz.
In the Cathedral of Our Lady of the Angels, a Mass was held with the participation of representatives of many cultures. Among the assembled were also members of the Club of Gazeta Polska in Los Angeles and the Polish-American Congress.
And it went very, very well. And people think so highly of us. Why? Because we come with John Paul II. Easy as that. There's so many people come to us and say, I was not in the faith, but John Paul II made it easy or easier.
Los Angeles is most often associated with Hollywood. However, the metropolis was created as a result of the founding of the San Gabriel Mission by the Franciscans on September 8, 1771. An outpost was established in the land of Tongva, where indigenous peoples were often forced to adopt the Catholic religion. The church recently apologized for the mistakes it made, looking for ways to heal its relationship with the Indians.
At least 20 years. And it's a celebration of culture, so basically the different ethnic communities in the Archdiocese, we're about, I would say, about 50 right now. So we take part. This time, we normally call it celebration of cultures, but this time we call it now One Mother, Many Peoples.
Native Americans dressed in traditional costume, and after Mass, they danced outside the cathedral. It was an important part of the celebration because the Indians can now feel fully integrated with their culture and tradition into the Catholic Church. The presentation of folk costumes and traditions is very important for the participants of this special multinational Mass.
We practice every Friday for 2 hours, and if we have a show, we really focus on what dances we're gonna do, and we perfect them until they come out the way we want them to. The dresses, we get them custom made. Everyone gets them fitted to their size.
From Los Angeles for TV Republika, Małgorzata Schulz.
That's the news. Thank you for watching. Stay with us for the weather, Poland Daily Business and more programmes. But from me, it's have a good night and a better tomorrow.